without a word. So, unfortunately, what was that? Did you hear that?
No.
Oh. I don't know what that was. Anyways, unfortunately, we're currently looking for Rogue. What do I have open?
I'm asking if this guy is Rogue, but I wouldn't.
Oh, if you're trying to confirm if the player is Rogue, I see.
Yeah. I mean, he is Zerg. He's GM. I don't know if that's his name or not. Sean Taeyong.
Oh. I had a browser thing open. That's what that was. Okay.
Okay, well, that didn't help me.
ByuN's copy pasting to help, I guess. Verify Rogue's identity.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out if that was him or not. I don't know if it's his name or it's a random person's name, because when I searched for it, it came up with a K-pop star. Rogue secretly a K-pop star? Never know.
I mean, he's handsome enough to be one, right?
No one else wanted in here,
So,
right?
something kind of neat that we learned. I don't know. I didn't ask.
So
Well,
the admin asked and no one said anything.
okay, anyways, so we put out a tweet
shit.
about the match.
No. Someone did say something. Yeah.
Who are we supposed to get in here?
Naruto.
I'm sure if we just leave, look at the hint. I don't know.
I mean, I have referee.
Alright.
Smart. Yeah, not smart enough to check beforehand, but...
Anyways, well, we'll get this remade and such. I was gonna say, we were on Twitter, we were making the tweet for the matchup, and I guess right now, if you hashtag IEM, it forcibly puts a little trophy with it, which I guess is kind of neat, but I've never heard of this ever happening before. And like, you cannot copy this trophy individually. This is something that gets auto-attached to IEM, so this isn't even like an emoji. It's really weird. It also doesn't take up a character space. But, yeah, just kind of a neat little thing.
Okay, now we have everyone here.
No, you don't have me. Wait for me. Okay. At any rate, while we get this party started finally and going, yeah, get on that Twitter, hit that retweet. We'd appreciate it, guys. Let people know about the matches going on, because this is a qualifying series. It's no longer best of 3s. It is now best of 5s.
Cool. We don't get to... That's the best thing... Oh my god. Actually, you know what? I'll save this bit of a rant almost for after the intros.
Alright, well then let's hop into it. Spawning here on the top right. It is... I'll get the overlay update in a second, guys. The blue Terran, ByuN.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it is Rogue.
Get your tattle tees ready.
Yeah. Yes. So ByuN is 3-max reapering, it looks like, with the slidey bot in front, but I was going to go into what I said it was a rant, then a bad long, guys. But basically, there's a time where you really didn't see Koreans at all until there was an IEM. This is back when they weren't region locked, by the way. So you would see an IEM Korean qualifier, and it would just be like the most stacked thing that you would never see outside of GSL. Not really the case anymore, right? But it was awesome. Well, you don't have that anymore. This IEM qualifier is obviously still really, really, really cool. We don't see Gen Air players. So there is still that kind of effect to it. And Rogue is Gen Air, and we don't see him that often. So it's always cool to see guys you just don't see.
I was actually wondering where you were going with that. Because, yeah, even when we've tried to invite these guys to, like, prize pools of $1,000 for, like, a one-day play event, Gen Air is just never interested. I don't know if this is because they've just kept the old values of Kespa, or they just are so focused on their players playing only the premier events. But yeah, we just don't get to see them too often and too much. Rogue, however, is the one guy that has come out to play, to note, when we've tried to ask in the past. But still, generally speaking, a little bit more reserved and a little bit more of a rare treat.
It certainly is. SOS maybe once in a blue moon, but... other guys, not so much.
SOS came out one time and got banned promptly afterwards. Good times.
Yeah, well, it is sequencer, so you really... I mean, he could have, I guess, triple racks walled off, but, I mean, if you could just do it with 2 in a supply depot, why bother? Because I have a safe tech lab in case they do try and counter.
This other one I find really interesting. I like it though because I don't think he's trying to create a wall off per se, but it is that vision of the debris field. So if Rogue, you know, deflects the Reapers and goes around and decides to chip away at this wall, ByuN will actually know about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's too often used, but that is a neat thing to remember and be aware of. Overlord sees the Reaper, hasn't quite seen the barracks, but it is ByuN. So, oh no, that was actually second Reaper. We missed the first one when they main base. So I was wondering, because he threw it on a roach run as soon as he saw it, and I was like, does he really know that ByuN that much? Well, that was a confirmation with the second Reaper. So it is going to be. He's not canceling speed or anything, so he'll still have speedlings, but he is looking more towards the Ravagers to deal with this push.
Yeah, we've talked about this, right? This is going to be, I guess, like a stark difference between watching, say, Snoot versus Rogue. But the thing I like about this Roach attack version is, yeah, you can deflect the Reapers perhaps with a little bit more ease. Maybe it's still hard to deal with. But the counter attack that follows it up is usually pretty hard hitting.
Yeah, if he does decide to counter attack. I mean, it's six roaches. If he makes any more lings or any more roaches beyond that, I'm kind of feeling actually chasing these Reapers all the way back. He had 8 roaches now. Yeah, this feels like ByuN's gonna have to deal with a bit of pressure. But the thing is that you run across the map with roaches, and sure, they might get to the other side of the map, but they'll take a lot of damage along the way. The appropriately controlled Reapers. It's always questionable if it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, the grenades are annoying, but they are time buying, which is oh so important. For ByuN, it is the follow-up of just moving on elsewhere. But oh wait, he's not going to Factory Zombie Grove.
No, I do believe it's going to be more Reapers.
He's looking to really lay it on thick, which it's a dangerous move, but Reapers can snowball one way or the other. I feel like this is an instance where they're not going to snowball in favor of ByuN, but I don't want to speak too soon because it's ByuN. This guy can do some magic.
Yeah, that's the thing though, is I think it's a little less snowbally when it's up against Roach. What?
That grenade, sorry, had saved that Roach by launching it over top the rest of the army, but the fact that he's finally on top of the Ravagers, I mean, not many Reapers have died, all things considered, versus the amount of Roaches and Ravagers starting to go down.
Yeah, no, it's actually been quite good for ByuN. But, I mean, was obviously seeing no Ling support, so there's no worry about a Baneling bust as well, so he will have a wall if he really needed to buy time, even more time. Still worried, though, is building a bunker, and rightfully so. Like, Rogue is fully committing to this. Now we have Lings on the way. We still have Ravagers, of course. And, yeah, Lings get by somehow, but they're gonna... This is actually really nice for Rogue, who's gonna scout that is still a continued Reaper presence.
Most notably, there's no factory, there's no starport, there's so many questions to get raised through this, and this tells Rogue all he needs to know as far as like instigating this attack. They put Reapers inside a bunker, that's always... It's +1 range, I guess, but it's still like abysmal damage.
Well, that wall didn't give him that much time. That's why he went really quickly, and he wants the production of the barracks more than he wants them to burn and have to almost die.
ByuN's had to pre-pull a lot of SCVs too, so I mean, the bunker might not be in immediate danger of dying, but ByuN's also losing out on a ton of income while this goes on. His worker lead is maybe not even a lead with these many SCVs not mining. Biles go for a nice circle around, picks off almost all the SCVs, the bunker falls, now it's just the Reapers. And I mean, Ravager auto attacks alone can keep up with this.
Yeah, and I mean, there's only so many grenades too. Like he already used quite a few of them when the bunker went down, so there's a long time to wait. I think this is just too overwhelming.
Yeah, I love the low health Roaches given the full health Ravagers too. It's just like adding insult to injury for this.
Yeah, I think all the Zerg players will be delighted to see multiple Rack Sweeper, not just 2 actually, but 5 Rack Sweeper just slapped in the face. That seems what's happening here.
This was also not sloppy out of ByuN. Like the Reaper control was on point. He was taking fights in the middle of the map. He was delaying with the grenades as you should, and he played this out about as well as the Terran could. But this is just what we're talking about. Like Roaches and Ravagers can make for a really good counter to Reapers.
Yeah. So many of them too. Like he was doing okay against the limited, when there's 8 of them, he was doing all right, especially the ramp, the grenades. And here, as the Roaches go away and the Lings are taken care of, the Ravagers even go very quickly, but obviously that was all the SCVs pulled too. GG.
Wow, Rogue takes that first game here in the best of 5, but I love that he did Ravagers. I really did. It's a strategy we just don't see often enough. I think it's got so much power to it. And when you're going against somebody like ByuN, who is heralded as one of the best Reaper players there are right now, like to see that win is impressive to say the least. However, it is worth noting that ByuN, yeah, it's the first game. You get some cheese. It's a best of 5, so I wouldn't count him out anything close to yet. But also, ByuN has this thing. You guys might not know this if you don't watch enough ByuN in tournament games. You watch too many ByuN streaming games, right? ByuN has this thing where he'll usually go down like 0-2 or 0-1. He'll be on match point and then come back to reverse kill. So, I mean, I am absolutely the ByuN fanboy on this. I think he'll probably still win it. But, man, if there's like one Zerg player to stand up to him, like, we've seen Dark Faddle, we've seen Solar Faddle, we've seen Sue Faddle. We don't often see Rogue play. This might just be the guy to take him on.
He might be. Certainly had, as we were saying, you know, don't see him too often, and maybe ByuN doesn't get to see him too often either. No, I mean, they're playing on ladder, but...
I was going to say, I highly doubt it's that ByuN hasn't seen Rogue.
No, he's definitely seen Rogue, but I don't know about in a high-stake situation.
Well, that could be a factor. Either way, we're going to hop into game number 2. Proximization, a little bit more normal, so nothing too weird for map layout just yet, but in the top right... It'd be crazy to try it on this map. I hope he doesn't. But it was the 3-Raxing ByuN.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it is Rogue.
What I think was really remarkable, though, for Rogue that game, that wasn't like a pre-planned all-in, I don't feel. That was very much like a reaction to the situation at hand and building off of it. And I brought this up when we talked about Joxi, because it's the players who can react and adapt. Those are the ones that will impress you. Those are the guys that are going to be at the top of the tournaments, and those are the ones you want to be cheering for. There's folks out there like, and I'm not trying to disparage him for those who like are a big Innovation fan. If we take Innovation, for example, right? The guy does the same one build 3 times in a row in a tournament. There's not a lot of variety. There's not a lot of adaptation. He'll still win because his mechanics are good. But it's the players like Rogue and Joxi I personally fan over because I'm like, man, that was really smart. And they saw the situation at hand and played exactly as they needed to.
Well, actually, Innovation was playing pretty cheesy when we last saw him. But...
he's been playing a lot more different lately, I'd say, too.
Yeah, but I think the idea is still there.
Historically, I don't know anyone who sticks to one build more than Innovation.
Well, it is 3-Rax, so obviously there's not really a need to put it on the front.
Okay, well, first off, I will just say this. If he goes up to 5-Rax again, I'm going to call him insane. To do 3-Rax for the opener, as we've seen with just the 9 Reapers and the hard stop, I can see this working. But the thing is, like, okay, let's say you shut down this base. Let's go hypothetically as far as ByuN kills it. You still have this really awful ramp to try and get up.
That's true. So a couple of things. I do think that ByuN maybe was hoping that last game he was going to be pushed back to his base, and then Rogue's in a macro, right? Thinking he was safe with roaches, and that's why 5-Rax would have been a big surprise. If he thinks that Rogue's going to go for, like, major aggression again, maybe he doesn't. So, first of all, to go to the 5-Rax idea. But then second of all, about the actual map, I mean, it's kind of cool that you do have 2 options as a Rogue player. Here, out front, we can spread the creep faster, and then in the back where it's safer. But if it's out in the front, then that is, you know, this actually isn't so bad for Reapers. They don't have a ramp to deal with out front like this, and they could do a lot of damage. And then, on top of all that, I suppose, it didn't happen in this game, but it could have some Zergs, like, go for fast triple hatch on this map and skip speed. And that would have been obviously a good opportunity to use 3-Rax Reaper. Well, not Rogue did.
Interestingly enough, Rogue is playing this different, right? Not only is this not for the Roach War, and it's going for the Spine Crawler.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, this will work out pretty well because the same problems persist where you have a choke. Granted, over here, usually we're talking about this tiny choke, but it's still a fairly small choke. The Spine Crawler covers the entire distance here.
Yeah.
He's going to need a transfusion to it. The problem is he's been using a lot of injects.
Rogue might just think that ByuN is going for the stop on the Reaper there, stop on the Reapers, and that's why he feels comfortable not going for the roaches. And just really the Spine Crawler. Like, he's not even that many extra queens, you know? Like, this is a very thin defense.
Right, and he's got speed. He's going to have Lings eventually, but he's still building drones.
Yeah, he thinks that it's going to be cut off soon, and he's not wrong, but his Overlord sees, I think, what was the last Reaper So he knows there still are a couple more, but this Overlord,
add-ons,
sees the add-ons. That tech lab was put down a while ago, just out of vision. So, point is, like, he did transfer out, but this was still a very dangerous defense played by Rogue. But it's gonna work out really good for him. He chose correctly.
He's choosing about a second spine crawler. So this is what's so interesting, and this is where I kind of like his decision making, even though it is, we'll say, less than normal. If you go for Lings, yes, you can clean up the Reapers, but then what do? You slam them into a wall, because the same problems of a choke we were discussing earlier affect Rogue as well. He can't push up that ramp. So the spine crawlers, all things considered, are, I think, less money than building 16 to 20 Lings, and you're going to waste less because they're not going to be sitting around the map doing nothing, the same way the spine crawlers are sitting around doing nothing.
Well, now we have Rogue with the 2-base Spire. We saw Snoot try and kind of make this work. I forget what the map was, but what happened was, if you weren't around, is that ByuN basically just stacked all of his units together as much as possible, wasn't doing any drops or anything like that, and pushed to win. The mutas couldn't help, even if they were back at home. And there just isn't a lot to be said about the ground army when you go for 2-base lair. Will that be the same case here? Maybe. ByuN did go for a 2-base follow-up very quickly into stim and production of Marines. And he might see an opportunity. He doesn't know what Rogue's build is, though, which I think is the biggest difference. He got into Snoot's main base and saw that it was a fast lair. Here, you know, he doesn't even see the army type. This is like the first time he's going to see speedlings, right? Like, they weren't used. It was spine crawlers and queens.
Rogue got up to a really high worker count, too, through this, which was nice. Like, having delayed the Lings, all that larva was going towards drones. He had a lot more money for this, too, so all things considered, he still might have more Lings than had he gone for Lings initially early on. But this push coming down is going to be nasty. Spine crawlers absolutely going to help with the defense, but I don't know that it's going to be enough. Stim is done.
It's like help, I think. Like, if they're on top of the spine crawlers, they're down in an instant with stim. But if the Lings are comboed, maybe it's a little bit better. But there aren't any banelings, which is the most important thing to note. At least Snoot had banelings to try and, like, scare ByuN. With this many Marines and Reapers, I don't think Lings are very scary, ever.
I agree. This is going to be very interesting. Timing here is a little bit early. He goes in before +1. He goes in before combat shields. This gives Rogue the best possible defense.
And he also got on top of the Marines. The Reapers didn't really throw down a lot of grenades, and they weren't buffering for the Marines either.
It looks like the mutas will just barely be enough to push us back. I'm really impressed with Rogue right now.
That ended up being so perfect. I'm really surprised that ByuN chose how to move his position, his army like he did, but his Reapers get in here, start killing a couple of drones at least.
I was more worried that, like, going in before +1 was going to really screw him over.
Yeah, I think the lack of combat shields was the most important distinction, you know. Suddenly the glaive room for the mutas is actually pretty effective, and again, getting us around on just the Marines with those Lings. I did not see that happening.
Yeah. Now the mutas, as slow as the count are, in the main, picking off SCVs. Feels pretty good for Rogue right now.
It feels really good. I mean, ByuN, he had a long time to reduce that army, but he's actually only on 3 barracks.
He can't deal with this. He actually can't deal with this.
I don't think he can. You know how long it's been since we've seen 2-base lair snowball like this?
Do you know how long since we've seen, like, 4 mutas basically win a game? Like, I mean, that's kind of what happened here.
Yeah, this is like back in the beginning part of the storm.
Oh my god, that effect's going down too.
Like, okay, there's where the Marines were, but no, I don't know it's gonna work.
Even with his back against the wall, there's too many Zerglings.
Yeah, just not quite good enough here, and he lost army and SCVs trying to defend against that.
He actually gave up the assault. I feel like he could have still camped that production, sat on top of the barracks with the mutas for a little bit longer, but maybe he's really scared of these drops or something. He brought all the mutas back.
I think it's more of that point where, like, you are distracted, so if you leave just 5 mutas alone, and you don't pay attention, that's when 6 Marines pop out all at once. You know what I mean? Like, that they're kind of expensive to just not pay attention to when you're very worried about a drop in your natural.
So just to note, some people in chat are making the argument that, like, you know, Rogue probably lost too much economy through the spine crawlers, and I would say normally that's the case, but he made no Zerglings. No Zerglings, so you're, like, really afforded those spines when you normally aren't.
That's 2 drones and 200 minerals for the spine crawler. I think that is way less, not just mineral-wise, for what Lings we usually see against a triple Rice Reaper.
Oh, 100 each, yeah.
There's 2 of them. And then you don't have to worry about your larva what's the word? Like keeping track of your larva, because your larva is going entirely to drones. So I don't know. I do sometimes agree with the whole like with the spine crawlers really worthy, but 4 spine crawlers against like a 12 pool, is that too much? But I think those were on point.
Yeah.
Anyway,
very cool watching Rogue play today. His decision making is very different than most that we've seen. But trying to get Widow Mines, he's got a turret up. I mean, ByuN is struggling, guys. Even though his army supply's not looking so bad, he's still down a pretty hefty worker count. And Rogue's at this point where he may not have a lot yet, but he can make banelings finally, something that's been lacking for sure.
He can, but he hasn't. Only 7 just started. Now there is some creep trying to get through, and it looks like ByuN's not going to be aware of that potential. So there's even going to be a couple more banelings here. The meter count also isn't too shabby. Like in a fight, they can help out with ling support. Those blade worms.
He's doing a lot of fancy dancing with these Marines right now because he knows banelings just finished up. He saw them too with his own eyes.
Yeah. That muta count is enough that if he does split prematurely, the mutas can actually take groups of Marines on. Like 19 with, well, I guess +1's not even close to being done, but still 19 mutas. That is a lot. He's also going to be protective of his Widow Mines.
He's got to be very cautious of the medevacs too. Not have those out to the open. Rogue's looking for those openings too. I love this. The control and the stacking of the mutas right now is so good.
Baneling speed is about to be done. I think that's what Rogue's really waiting for. There we go.
Alright, goes in full force. Link's going to be trying to soak up those Widow Mines, but Widow Mines gets some pretty good hits on the Banelings. Still, they crash through the Marines, and I think the muta count being as crazy as it was, he's still on 19. He didn't lose much. Okay, a drone won that fight somehow.
Yeah. He probably could have continued chasing, but a little bit dangerous, of course. He even had a couple of Lings and Banelings left over, but plays it safe. He managed to sneak out of 4th base while that was going on, so it doesn't have any drones.
Oh, catches rallied units.
It is already available. It's producing a little bit of larva every now and then. I also want to note that Rogue has been on a very low drone count for most of this game. Yeah, he lost some, and he lost 12. But that's still, 64 would still be, I think, a low drone count for, 11-minute game here.
Yeah.
But it's working.
Well, you know what? When you know you've done the damage to your opponent, it's all relative, right? Like, you need 64 drones because the Terran has 50-plus mules. This time, ByuN's just kind of struggling to get anything.
Yeah. I'm loving the control that Rogue has over this game. Now, ByuN's trying to make the best of a bad scenario, and that was a decent push right there, but, honestly, enough.
Curious versus Cure had always held my heart for like the best muta control I've ever seen, and Rogue is taking that away.
Yeah. Looks like the Widow Mines weren't quite taken care of, but Rogue knew they were there, so splits. He doesn't have overload speed. That is definitely something that's just straight up missing. Like, he should have that.
Yeah, that I agree. All things considered, though, going back to the worker count, I think he's recognized that the threat was over, so he's finally feeling comfortable to go back to droning. Getting that count now up to 67, even more on the way.
Yeah, plus now his main can be transferred over, as it's almost mined out. I don't think ByuN's getting a 4th base anytime soon, and he doesn't even have one, just be left off of the main CC. His upgrades aren't even that good. How do I not go off until...
Widow Mines can sometimes be really cool.
Yeah, right?
The splits are so good out of ByuN. He just took a big hit on that worker line, but he killed all the Banelings. His micro and the dancing around that was actually really impressive. He's looking to kill that one Overseer, by the way. Speaking of no speed.
Yeah, that's another reason to get speed. There's a drop at the 4th base. Doesn't really get that many drones. I think it was attacking the hatchery, but now maybe focus firing it?
Great
like,
positioning
it's gonna get off the low. It's gonna die. I think he should just stay and take whatever he can, right? The muta's on the way back. Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
Well, there's the Baneling, too, to wash that out. This push still coming out of ByuN. It's close to having 2-2. I don't think he needs it to have a good fight. His micro has been on point. His pre-splitting, his dancing, it's been so sick watching this so far. But right now, the concern I have is he doesn't have that many medevacs. His medevac count's really low, and these ones are really hurt. He
doesn't have the better units, basically. Like, you pointed out medevacs. I was going to point out Widow Mines. But Widow Mines is really not that scary. And, Rogue just made like 30 Banelings, so really not scary. And they just die anyways.
Oh, this is looking bad for ByuN. Right in the middle of the map, but you know what? There's not a lot of Lings flooding, so this still doesn't have a lot of follow-up potential, whereas normally this would be like a game-winning move, I feel.
Yeah, I get your point. Yeah, there's not too many on the way. In fact, he puts a lot of his minerals and gas back
Oh,
in
no.
the...
Oh!
Oh, lordy.
Okay, the splits are okay, but they still take some pretty nasty hits. Widowmine takes out the rest of them, and Rogue has to stop without that Baneling or Ling support. The meter count was, what, 19 earlier, down to 9. We got about 8 more on the way, so he's going to keep focusing on that for a little bit. But ByuN's now got that 2-2 weapon upgrade, which is going to make this a lot easier for him to deal with this Mutas.
Yeah, he now has an upgrade lead with Rogue only upgrading one at a time.
Yeah,
There's a couple more from Baneling, it's always good.
It's funny, because he's lifting the main over to become his 4th, right?
Yep.
But Rogue could still very much take out some important tech there on the left side of the base.
Is pretty important. He only has 3 Banelings. Those are supposed to be
Oh, wow.
very, very helpful, and they're focus fire down, but the Lings might still be enough. These units are weak to pick up and go back to his reinforcements.
This has been pretty scrappy, and like I want to say tug-of-war-y between the both of them. It's made for an absolutely excellent game so far, but I think Rogue's starting to slowly lose that tug-of-war. A lot of this having to do with unit type. You know, we brought this up with ByuN.
Yeah.
Now Rogue's kind of in that situation where he's struggling to get any Banelings out. He's got no creep spread to really speak of either. Not for lack of trying, but ByuN's just been beating him back.
I still have a lot of faith in Rogue winning this game, so I'm not like quite in agreement with you, but I kind of get you that it feels like if there was an actual tug of war, that Rogue is dangerously close to just tiring out, right? Like, he's not losing his grasp yet, but he might in a minute or two. He has never really gotten his creep spread back up since the very beginning of the game, so as he starts expanding more and more, he's going to be more vulnerable to every expansion. And ByuN happened to get away with a new gold base. Despite the Muta presence in the early game, it hasn't... Well, now, there we go. See, this is what was supposed to happen. The Muta is supposed to stop this from happening. There we go. That's better.
The instant realization as well, but ByuN also identifies that this is the whole army, so he doesn't come back with this push. He instead goes forward with it. However, he's going forward into Banelings. Oh!
Exactly. Like, you always think that as a Terran player, and then they have, like, 7 Banelings on creep, and suddenly you suck. Like,
That's
you
it,
can't do
this
anything
game.
against it. Yeah, this game.
He's just lost everything. He scans to see this base as well. There's the tap out point, and Rogue takes a 2-0 lead. But it is best of 5, and now it's time for ByuN to make that magic happen. That guy who always goes down and then comes back. He's our man.
Yeah. He's our man. If he can't do it, maybe some other Terran can.
So, by the way, Wardy is tweeting about Snoot defeating ByuN 2-1. That's really cool to see, but I would like to just quickly remind everybody on those. We kind of have some inside information, him being on our team and all, and ByuN is, like, really sick. Like, he's been in the hospital 2 out of the 3 last nights kind of sick. So I don't want to take anything away from Snoot. Congratulations. But I just want to put some context that I don't think that's quite the crazy upset that a lot of people in their hearts wish it to be.
Yeah. But I guess more to the point, it still means that Snoot is alive.
Yeah.
I hope. There's a lot of other... I mean, I think his follow-up tweet was saying how many people are already out. Zest is out. Creator's out. Patience is out. And SOS. And Alive. Alive, man. He was so hype. It seemed like, you know, him and Gumiho were, like, racing each other to who would be the next great Terran. And then Gumiho did it. And Alive was just like, well, I guess I lost. And now he's not been doing so great. Oh, well. Ready to go?
Yeah, I'm also now remembering that last game. All great things aside from Rogue, as he is a very impressive 2-0 against ByuN of all people right now. These games have all been 3 Rax Reapers, right? Like,
yes.
Cheese and not quite, I guess, your more normal Terran opening. Abyssal Reef is another map that's perfect for it. I think if you're willing to do it on Proxima, you gotta be willing to do it on Abyssal Reef, right?
I agree. I think, well, we would see with the supply depot placement, wouldn't we?
Yeah, really curious on what the openings
Here we
look
go.
like. And, yeah. Okay, so maybe really is following in Innovation's footsteps. Top left side of the map. It is going to be the red Terran player ByuN.
In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, it is Rogue.
Now, as much as I would like to be judgy about the openers, the thing is, regardless of whatever the opener is, as long as it goes to this mid game that ByuN's comfortable playing with, that's all that's really going to matter. So it really comes down to, I don't think trying to win with the 3 Rax Reaper but more so, can he get ahead with the 3 Rex Reaper?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so far the answer to that is a pretty stark no.
Yeah, he either gets all in return, or he does get out macroed. So, I don't know. But it is something that, like, if maybe this was another tournament, another time zone, another player, I'd be like, well, is this the only thing he can do? But ByuN, it's like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever in Korea, so he's not tired, although ByuN, being ByuN, maybe he's never tired. It's on the Korean server, best bet he can have, and it's ByuN, the 3x Reaper King, so it's not just him saying, this is the only thing I can do against a mighty rogue. I think he just thinks it's going to work eventually.
By the way, our matches have finally lined up, and on deck, we should have Gumiho versus Solar after this series is done. Maybe it's over here and now with a 3-0. I hope to God it's not, but if it is, that's the next match that we have lined up and ready to go. This is still a qualifying match, too, so while there is still that losers bracket to fall down to, the winner of this, which is right now looking like it's going to be Rogue at this rate, gets to just sail on through to IEM.
Yeah, easy peasy. And I was pretty sure Gumi was going to 2-0 Kelazur, but I was really hopeful that Cyril could take on Solar.
You know, I think there's we obviously didn't get to see how that match went, and I don't think anybody streamed it, but I gotta imagine that was a little bit closer than whatever the score is going to make it look like, because Cyril is actually a really fantastic ZvZ player. Not to take away from Solar, Solar's also a very fantastic ZvZ player.
Yeah. Well, the Reapers have begun. We have... We're going for a very early evolution chamber. I know he got one early-ish last game, but I don't think it was this early. Maybe
yeah,
I'm
wondering
remembering.
if that's going to be for drops, maybe.
It'd be an interesting response. You don't usually see drops as a response to Terran aggression anymore, I guess. Maybe back when it was first released. More so, of course, Super DOS.
Okay, so if it is drops and not just a quick upgrade, right? And it does work, this will be Rogue actually showing us the 3 ways to deal with Reaper.
It's feeling like Carapace. He certainly has enough gas. He didn't take him away, and there's not really an Overlord that's going to be helpful for dropping right now. One in the back, one in the middle of the map. So, I guess he just was getting it before he noticed it was 3x Reaper and just decided to let it finish. There we go. Plus 1 Carapace. So, only a little bit late, and he's pulled most of the guys off the gas. But we do have Ling still going across the map, even though there's not an Overlord in position. This would have been a prime opportunity to do so. Reapers are also close enough back home that maybe it wouldn't have been worth it anyway. Although they should be very careful about being trapped.
I love that. ByuN never caught move commanding, always paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah. Well, we should note, I guess, that Rogue did make Lings this game, right? Like, it wasn't a Spinecrawler defense.
Yeah, but just to note, too, ByuN's also going more than 9 Reapers, by the way. In fact, 2 more barracks coming down, so he's about to lay this on really, really thick. That Carapace upgrade is going to be so good at helping deal with the Reaper auto-attack damage, but there's going to be so many grenades flying with 5 racks producing Reapers.
Yeah. Rogue's middle Overlord, by the way, does see continued Reaper production. As I say, his other one is not really doing anything. So I was wondering how he saw it. Very nicely done. But you're right, that +1 Carapace is going to really help out. I think that whenever I see a Terran go for 5 racks Reaper, it really feels like they're hoping to catch a Zerg player who's on their way to the 3rd base, on their way to, of course, more drones. But the last time we saw it, it was obviously a Roach Ravager Ling all-in, so that wouldn't quite work out. In this game, Rogue is not underestimating. He's seeing more Reapers being produced, and he's making as many Lings as possible. Probably has a surplus just due to larva, so he is taking a 3rd, but still with a lot of Lings.
It's so cool, though. I don't know that I've seen this dynamic of +1 Carapace versus 5 racks Reaper, but for me, I think there's like a lot of potential here. The grenade is going to ignore upgrades, okay, guys? So the Carapace won't affect the grenade damage, but the auto attack damage is going to be cut down severely, especially with the Reapers having 2 attacks and all.
Yeah. Well, as you see in the production tab, this isn't just an all-in for ByuN. He's thinking about the future. Is he?
Maybe it was die on the high ground.
Yeah, right. Alright, well, there's only 4 Reapers left, so even though they took out most of the Lings on the high ground, there's still a lot left over, and it was much better for Rogue just get rid of those Reapers.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah. Now, ByuN, I said, he's going for double upgrades behind this, so this wasn't like an all-in, but still no 3rd CC, so eventually this is going to be a problematic situation. As at least Rogue has his hatchery finishing, even though he doesn't have a lot of drones. ByuN getting stimmed, but still making Reapers.
That's
I really feel like
actually
he wants
hilarious to look at.
He just wants to catch Rogue off guard, but he's not getting an opportunity.
Well, the +1's gonna help deal with that carapace upgrade. Not normally something that's a big factor, I feel, but certainly is here. As he starts to make Marines, he is still also slowly getting towards the starport. I mean, so much was delayed through these extra 2 barracks, not just in terms of like what is normal production, but like there's nothing. There's no tanks, there's no veterans, there's no wood mines, there's nothing.
I was gonna say those lanes are getting really low, and he does pull them back, but after taking out a decent number of Reapers. I mean, this is an important point. I think ByuN wants a certain amount of Reapers alive for his Marine follow-up. He doesn't want to just, you know, let him go and let him die.
Dude, hit Shift L for a moment.
1571.
15 Reapers for 71 links. But the thing is, it's fairly even on the resources lost, so it's not like broken or anything. It's just a weird, such a big number in contrast to one another.
Yeah. While Rogue has dealt with the Reapers very well at this point, there hasn't been too much follow-up scouting. I guess something got in there and did see double engineering bay, so I think the logical next step was a 3rd CC.
Hydralis Den.
Yeah, this we saw this for the first time months ago at this point, I guess. By Foreigner, I want to say, and then ByuN used it. And now, I think in the last month or two, it actually seems to be just a legitimate way that a lot of Zergs are playing. Ling, Baneling, Hydra.
The reason I favor this is mostly because of the supply difference. Normally, Bio with like a ton of supply. Well, you know, ByuN's still gonna have a ton of supply here, but you know, you're throwing away the Banelings, you're left with nothing. At least the Hydras have a chance to, you know, move on to the next fight. Whereas Banelings are just like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Well, might not see Hydras. Okay, ByuN's gonna back off. So okay, we will see Hydras. But ByuN was looking very dangerous on that ramp. Cleared up most of that creep spread over there too. Their base is secure, even as they're Ling attacking it. Pesky Ling. And combat shields now on the way, but obviously that's a very late combat shields, and ByuN doesn't really want to fight without it, or without medevacs. So Rogue has time.
When there's muscular augments and Baneling speed before this combat shields.
Damn.
Feels like a 5-rax, friend.
Putting it in perspective. ByuN clearing up more creep tumors, denying what could have been a 4th base. I still don't know if he really wants to commit to this push, though. Obviously, he's on creep now, and his combat shield still is not done. 3rd base was forced to be pulled away.
Well, the Reaper's
a nice counter.
good man.
Yeah, but it took a long time. It forced ByuN to look away, so he just has this army, of course, outside of creep, chilling, and that's time for Rogue to get 6 Hydras and his upgrade.
I'm really intrigued to see the Hydras roll here. One of the big things I think that's going to be kind of cool is normally Marauders are great. You have those on the front line. They soak the Banelings. Yeah, the Zerg army becomes a lot worse for it. But Hydras will tear through the Marauders. If you put those on the front line and pull back the Marines like you would versus Banelings, Hydras will just shred through the Marauders. This is going to be for such a weird, unique, but really awesome fight.
Yeah, attempting to spread the creep, but being denied. Still has the queens at the very least. Feeling very pressured on 3 bases. Rogue will have to make a move at some point, either offensively or tech-wise. And he's getting to an infestation pit. We'll see if that's for fungals or for a very quick hive. I mean, usually it's not advised to go to hive on 3 bases, but he's planning on taking a fight.
So he's trying to stim away and draw this off that creep, but he's just... The Zerg army's hot on his heels. He can't even stim away properly.
He is just stimming away, though, is the point there. He's not going to stand and take a fight, try and split, just hoping that eventually Rogue will run away, and he does.
Oh, gosh.
He did what he wanted. He pushed that army so far back, he could finally take a 4th base.
Right? That was breathing room, if nothing else. Even though he didn't get kills, Rogue is... I like they didn't commit to this. Like he also pulled back. Both players knew exactly when to disengage there.
Yeah. And that infestation bit was to go for hive. It's still, you know, it's going to be 3 bases for a while longer. 61 Jones will have the best, most powerful economy, but if he can keep his army alive, choose his engagements wisely, then he will have a bank for, I'm guessing, Ultras, because it's still an Aspire. That's that's tank support now though. That's a scary looking army. And it's gonna have 2-2-1 finishing up. Is Rogue planning? Okay, it is a back attack. Big surround going down.
It's not just a back attack. It's a it's a full-on surround. Bantling's hitting every side. ByuN just melts. He's left with a decent army supply, but most of his supplies in medevacs.
Yeah, I was gonna say that supply is not so bad. You know, that was really good too, I guess, for Rogue, who was attacking right before ByuN had +2 armor. But even with, you know, upgrades, I think the positioning there was fantastic. Those tanks weren't nearly as effective as they could have been.
It's tough too because tanks are actually a really great counter to Hydras, just not here in. Oh, fast Vipers.
It's like almost Roach Hydra Viper without the roaches.
Well, this will help out with the tanks a ton, and I'm not even thinking because of Blinding Clouds, which may get used, but you just abduct them. And ByuN, he needs a high tank count. When you're fighting Hydras, there's no bonus damage. Like, you have to actually have like 5 or 7 tanks. 3, we're witnessing 3 not cutting it, frankly, here this whole game.
This is a dangerous run by Rogue. He used a lot of Bailing to do this, but his Ling's in, but his Ling's not even going to do that much, and well, it doesn't look like it's going to be an opportunity for ByuN to push in offensively. Maybe that wasn't exactly the damage he's looking for. ByuN has a 4th base. That is his main command center once again. Pull up on a planetary. But yeah, Vipers, man. Like, this is really throwing back to, like, merry-go-round something. It was Roach Hydra Viper. Like, you bought time to get the Vipers to deal with the increasing tank count. You just don't have to see that dynamic anymore because, of course, there's Ultras or Broodlords as a response. But no, going the old-fashioned path of Vipers. I really want to see how this works out.
I think abducts are just going to be free damage. There's no Vikings, there's no Thors, there's nothing to zone them out. So every time they come in and go for an abduct, it's going to be a free kill. And if they want to throw down Blinding Clouds, more power to them, right?
Yeah.
But this tank count is pretty big.
And he is spreading them a little bit. ByuN has not scouted the main in forever. Now he sees the Vipers.
Blinding Clouds.
Tanks. Actually, uses things on the tanks though. That wasn't the point of that.
Blinding Cloud does not last very long, so as we saw, he traded a lot of Banelings to kill like 3 tanks.
That was a little more awkward than I think Ro was hoping for.
Oh,
and ByuN was maybe expecting.
I don't know if ByuN saw that burrow. This is kind of a cheeky move. Catch a couple of SCVs here in a moment.
Finished a while ago. ByuN has he still has an army supply lead, but these Ling's gonna pull back his reinforcements. Pull back his entire army. Huh. I guess just not feeling the option of pressure is gonna wait for his upgrades and more supply.
Well, I think the position he had over here wasn't really lending too much anyways. He was just asking to be abducted or blind clouded, etc. Blind Cloud's coming down once again, pushing on in. Tank soaks up a lot of the Banelings like we saw earlier. Marauder's still in that front line. I don't know how there's still Blinding Clouds, but there's just Hydras and Lings left. New Banelings coming in for the back line. Still, though, ByuN is going to be able to hold.
There is some pretty bad mismicro, though. I mean, there was such a large-scale engagement. I guess that's true, but I just watched Banelings crash into like 20 Marines, and I was like, man, I can't believe that ByuN let that happen. And that does give Rogue a bit of an army supply lead.
I mean, yes, they take a lot of the Marines, but there's also so many of them got, I'm going to say, quote-unquote, wasted on the tanks, right?
Yeah. It's always an important dynamic. Now, ByuN has finished his upgrades. Actually, he's even getting +2. Of course, this is a position that the Vipers are doing their job, and that's great. But if Rogue could get up to a greater Spire, it'd be fantastic. ByuN's still making tanks, but instead, he goes for an Ultralisk Cavern.
By the way, I have totally been keeping count. We are now on 5 times. Chat has tried to call GG before the game's been over.
Nice.
You're doing great, guys. Keep it up.
Those rare times where we get to call you guys out. Oh man.
I don't know, it's an A for effort moment. It really is. But no, I'm not trying to make fun. It's just that is how crazy the game has been, though. This looks like it should have ended several different times. I agree, but both players sticking in it. Mostly, it's been ByuN who's been on the outs, though. Like this has been a Rogue looking like he was going to win the game 4 or 5 times in a row now. He's finally on Ultras. He's going to have 3-3. He's going to have, most importantly, like chitinous plating. So, oh man, tanks are, if anything, of the essence more so than ever.
You know, I said he's kind of unfortunately getting Ultras instead of Broodlords, but that's just because Broodlords would be like the better option, but ultras aren't a bad option to add into your
Well,
army. They're going to be fully upgraded eventually too.
My counterpoint to that would be if the Vipers are dealing with the tanks, then you don't need the Broodlords as badly.
I think it's more, well, like, yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's also, though, if you have Broodlord, that's another thing that he has to produce, and it's, I guess it's a very low economy game, really, with Rogue back on 4 bases and ByuN only on 3.
So ByuN's going to take the fight in the high ground, which is nice, but that gives away all the tanks in the low ground. Blinding Cloud hitting these Marines in a really bad way.
Yeah. Well, I was worried about...
GG.
Alright.
Rogue with a 3-0 over ByuN is completely unexpected in my books, but very cool and definitely worth it. He kicked ass in this series.
He played that very smart. Like, way too smart. He made ByuN look like, well, he was stuck in the past, basically.
Well, next matchup should be Gumiho versus Solar. We're going to go confirm this, guys. Hopefully we're able to still get it. If not, we'll grab another match. Either way, there's still a ton of games available. Looks like, yeah, Gumiho and Solar. But they've even got Veto sorted. So we're not going to be waiting all that long. But a small breather, and I have to refill my water anyways. So we'll be back in a moment with next best of 5.